Hey guys, welcome to the webinar. And today's topic is how to increase your podcast's listeners and how to actually retain them so they don't go away. Of course, I'm Satish Gear from Dallas, Texas, and from PodValley and PodMia. And we got two other experts on marketing and podcast. And first of all, I want to go ahead and introduce Nikesh Chabgin. And Nikesh, are you here?
Yes.
Hey,
Hi
Nikesh.
there.
Nikas is an expert on SEO, marketing, YouTube, podcasts. So it'll be good to have him on here today. And we got
Yeah.
Nicholas here. Nicholas, can you hear us?
Yes, hear you loud and clear.
Perfect, Nicholas. Nicholas, what do you know? What are you you know what are your expertise? Go ahead and tell everybody here.
Well, I'm a list builder and also I've dabbled in podcasting. I have a lot of friends that are in podcasting. I've studied their marketing material. So it's something that I'm very passionate about. I've helped a few people launch their own podcasts. So I just want to give some value to the group tonight.
Perfect. Let's actually go ahead and get started. Now, as a podcaster, so you're worried about two things. Now, getting audience, getting more downloads, and how to actually retain them so they don't go away. For example, let's say you get 100 new subscribers on your podcast, and in next month, all of them go away. What's the point, right? So you should actually be, not only be worried about getting downloads, but also be cautious about retaining them, because a lot of people focus on getting more downloads, getting more subscribers. They don't care about retaining their subscribers for a long term. So let's go and talk about a few things that you can do on your podcast to get more downloads and retain your listeners for a long time. So number one, now this if you're not doing it, you're basically putting money on the table. You're not grabbing subscribers and listeners that you actually deserve. So do you even blog? Now, when I say blogging, you don't have to be an expert or have a degree in English. You can blog normally, right? You don't have to write 5 pages like Nicholas here writes. Write short 200 or 300 words. Basically, your topics could be pretty much what your episode is on. So, for example, let's say your episode is about getting more traffic to a website, or how to speak better on a webinar. Write a blog post about that, and make sure that the blog post is simple enough, bullet points, and easy enough for people to read. Don't try to focus on oh, how do I make it better for the SEO, or do I even sound right on the article. Do the best you can. You don't have to worry about just make sure to do a grammar check and punctuation checks, but besides that, you should be fine. Now, you're probably thinking, why should you even be blogging? Now, number one, and the best reason is that finding organic listeners. Now, when I say organic, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about organic food, but it is pretty similar. Now, basically, organic listeners means that they found you without you promoting or paying somebody to advertise your podcast. So, for example, like I said, these organic listeners are basically going to be your fans for a lifetime. So people are actually genuinely interested on what you have to say. So for example, they're going to get on Google or any Bing or any other search engine, and they're going to search for, I don't know, how to convert better on a webinar, or how to take care of your pets, whatever your podcast is about, right? They're going to find your episode, they're going to see your post, okay? And if they like what they see, they're going to subscribe to you on iTunes, YouTube, and pretty much everywhere. They're basically going to become your fan for life. Okay. Number two, blogging is very good for SEO, search engine optimization. Now, remember I said finding organic listeners. Now, in order to find organic listeners, of course, for free, we're actually interested on your podcast, you have to have your own blog. You have to have your own website that you own, independently. It's not your website that your media host gives you. It's your own blog where you're posting that you can control fully. Okay. And number three, from this blog, you should be able to capture more leads. Now, when I say leads, think of them as subscribers. Okay. Now, a lot of podcasters, they think that their subscribers on iTunes or Google Play or Spotify are their customers or their subscribers. To be honest, they're not. Not right. So you heard me right. So they're not your subscribers if they're subscribing to you on iTunes, because they're Apple's customer, they're Spotify's customers, and they're Google's customers. So get people to sign up on your website. Okay, then you actually own your audience. You don't have to depend on somebody else. So make sure you use your blog to get more organic listeners. It's good for the SEO and to capture leads. Now I'm going to go ahead and there's lots of articles on the web on how to start a blog, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a dumbed down simple version. Okay, number one, find a short, sweet domain on a major registrar, for example, GoDaddy or Enum. Don't buy domains from resellers, because you don't know if they're going to be up and running 10 years from now. So buy a domain from a reliable registrar like GoDaddy, Enum. Don't buy it from companies like Dynadot, okay, or Namecheap. Those are resellers. Don't buy from them. Buy from the from the major registrars. Number one, use Honey plugin. So Honey plugin is basically if you use Chrome, or I think Firefox as well, right, Nikesh? It's called Honey plugin, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think even Explorer has it now.
Does
Internet Explorer.
Does IE have? Okay, perfect. So download this.
Yeah, they have a new one called Edge. It's on there.
Okay, perfect. So it's called Edge. Sorry. So you download this plugin, and you can actually get your domain for 99 cents. So I usually don't pay for full amount for any new domain. So use this plugin and get it for a cheaper price. Now, after that, get a basic hosting from HostGator, iPage, HostMite. It's going to cost you $5-6. Expect, just so you know, basic hosting, it's not the best thing ever, but it's enough to get you started. Don't expect your site to be super fast. So if you're going to be getting shared hosting, but it's good enough. Okay. Now, number 3, install WordPress CMS. Now, when I say WordPress CMS, basically I'm talking about WordPress.org. Usually your cPanel from your hosting company, they should have some sort of plugin, like an add-on that will allow you to install WordPress with one click. If not, ask your hosting company, okay? But this is what I'm talking about. Please, for God's sake, don't get your blog from WordPress.com. They are for profit, okay? They will charge you, and they will limit you on a lot of things. I think Nikesh can add on to this, right?
You don't want to get it from WordPress.com. It's like their version of the WordPress CMS, and if you get it from .org, you get the full everything on there for free.
Yeah, WordPress.com will basically charge you money for what's for free here, right?
Exactly.
So do that, okay? And once you install your WordPress CMS, I really recommend you install some sort of email capture plugins. Just search for email capture plugins, WordPress plugin. You'll find bunch. The one I recommend, which is very easy, it's called Sumo Me. I think you'll like that. Now let's go ahead. Now the blog topics, they're basically going to be your episodes. Keep that in mind, okay? Now, there's one more thing that you can do on your blog in order to convert visitors into actual subscribers, all through your blog post. And I'm going to have Nicholas talk about it a bit. So how can Nicholas, how can podcasters blog in a way so they're aiming to capture leads and turning them into subscribers? What can they do?
Okay, well, the first thing is your blog is your central hub. That's where you want everything to come back to, because that's what's going to actually build your brand. Now, in order to build your brand, you need to know what your niche is and what your market is and what their pain points are. You need to find out what the problem is for your niche audience, And then you need to create a solution for that. And when you create a solution, now you want to have something to give away, whether it's an audio, a PFD, a transcript, or I'm sorry, a PDF or a transcript. So what you want to do, you don't want to tell them what they're getting, but you just want to use the headline. You want to use some short copy and say, it's like, is so-and-so your problem? Well, we had a special guest on our podcast and we went over these topics. Click here to go to our blog and then opt in. And then, when they get back to your blog, you don't want to make it too long. You want to just give a nice little paragraph and have them opt in. One thing I would say about a blog, I don't know if everybody would agree with this, but you don't want social media links on your blog, because what's going to happen is you don't want people to start navigating around. You brought them to your blog for one reason, which was to opt in, get this free gift, and become a subscriber. What happens is when you have social media links, they might accidentally see it, click on your Facebook, then they'll get lost in Facebook, and sooner or later they'll be looking at what their aunt made for dinner, and they forgot why they even came to your blog. Now you lost somebody that was actually interested at one point. Now, if you do want that blog post to actually translate to something, have them opt in, get the free gift, and then redirect them to a place where they can like your social media links. But don't let them do it before. Have them go to your blog for the specific reason to get that free gift, and then you're going to organically build your list like that.
Got it. So basically, you're telling that they should go ahead and craft their blog post, some sort of pain point, something that their specific niche is looking for. Provide some sort of information, and and basically prompt them to enter their email address, name, in order to get that solution. Am I correct?
Right. Like if you're in some sort of health or wellness niche, and you have some person has like a male or a female problem, you tell them what those pain points are. It's like, oh yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I know what that feels like. But you don't give them the solution. For them to get the solution, they have to go back to your blog post, opt in, and get that free transcript that you're offering.
Got it. Perfect. So make sure you guys are implementing this on your blog if you haven't yet. Okay, so next, number 2. So how many of you guys have heard of Quora? Nikesh, Nicholas, I know you guys have. Yes?
Yes, we have.
So
yeah.
Quora is basically, it's like Yahoo Answers, but like 1,000 times better. So Quora is spelled Quora. Now, basically, here's what I want you to do. Okay, so create your Quora account. Now, first thing you want to do is go to your profile. And on your profile, I want you to, just honk your, tell people about what you do, what you provide, your websites, your blogs, your best episodes, whatever you might be doing. So go ahead and put that information on your profile on your Quora. That's the first thing you want to do, okay? And for example, I'll tell you about these. So go ahead and put those things on. And the next, what you want to do is go to home, and basically there should be feed. Click on edit. Now here's the best part. Now I want you to go ahead and find topic that resonates with your audience. So for example, let's say your audience, your podcast is about public speaking, right? So basically I would go and subscribe to public speaking. You can subscribe to as many as you wish, okay? And done. Now next I'm going to go to public speaking. Now here's what you need to be doing. You need to be actually going ahead and helping people out, like clicking answer and helping people out with your whatever they might ask you something. Just go ahead and answer it the best possible way you can. Please do not advertise yourself, your podcast, right on the answer. Here's what you can do. Okay, so let's say you found this question, right? So the better way to advertise yourself would be to basically create a blog post on your blog about the same topic here, and then come back here and just write something and create bullet points on what you want to talk about, right? And at the end, you can go ahead and tell people to, you can learn more about it on this blog. You can promote yourself like that, but don't ask people to be like, hey, go ahead and subscribe to my podcast to learn more. Don't do that, okay? You can do that, but make sure you're doing it on your profile itself here. So on your profile, you should be, putting out free stuff. You should be putting out your product that you, if you sell, your podcast information, everything that you want people to, get in touch with, for your YouTube channels, your Facebook fan page, whatever. Because when someone takes a look at your answer, and if they like what they see, they're going to click on your profile to see what else have you answered, right? For example, I'm going to show you one of mine. So I have a bunch of these here, as you can see. So one of my most popular links on Quora is finding your first $1 million idea. Take a look at this. Now, this is a simple landing page. As you can see, it has pretty much not much information. It just shows you what they're going to learn. It shows you the modules right here on the side. So I didn't, write a long sales copy where, oh, do this, do that. I basically showed people, hey, look, okay, this is interactive model to help you start your business, and they can actually see what they're gonna get. So they register for their corporate account. And I've had this up for almost 2 years, and till date, about 82,000 subscribers, people have actually signed up. So do this, use Quora and leverage it, okay? And like I said, on this profile right here, make sure to promote your podcast, because when people see your answers, they're going to want to learn more about you, and they're going to subscribe to your podcast. So again, go back to home and subscribe go to edit, find as many topic and subtopics. For example, your topic, your main niche might be very broad, but you might have multiple subtopics. So make sure you're subscribed to all of those places, okay? Now, some tips. Quora user base is very, very smart. They are not dumb people. Don't give out, stupid answers like on Yahoo Answers, okay? Quora's user base is very, very, very qualified, and they are very smart. They ask the right question, okay? Number 2, provide value on the post. Number 3, answer often. So what I do normally is I spend about 20 minutes a day, before I go to bed or early in the morning, and actually help people out on Quora. Now, what's going to happen when you do that is Quora knows that, hey, look, Nicholas here is answering 3 questions a day. That's great. So whenever there is a new question on your niche, what Quora will do, they'll actually email you personally. Okay, so it's their algorithm, but they're going to send you an email saying, Nicholas, so, this guy wants an answer on how to podcast better, how to capture more leads from your blog. Quora will actually send you an email on your inbox. So you'll be the first one. You'll get your first opportunity to answer that question. And if you're the first one on there, guess what? If you're providing the right value, people are going to upvote you, and you're going to be ranking better, and you're going to get more profile views, and eventually more podcast listeners. Okay. Now, got it. That's it. Let's go to the next one. Now, number 3. Now, I don't know about you guys, but we as a podcasters, and a lot of podcasters, successful podcasters I know, what they do is whenever they have a new episode on their podcast, they usually go ahead and create a supplement video. And I'm going to have Nikesh talk about what a supplement video is, and how to create it, and what's the benefit. Okay, why should you even be creating a supplement video? So I'm going to have Nikesh talk about it. So Nikesh.
Yeah. So for supplement videos, like Satish was talking about, the first thing you can do is this might require a little bit more work, but record yourself with a video camera while you're recording a podcast. Okay, so that's great. That's going to make you look great. People can connect with you, all that stuff. Now, an easy and quick version to do it is just have maybe a picture of your podcast artwork, and just have the audio on there. And you can create that literally, really quick, maybe as long as however your podcast is, maybe 5-6 minutes.
I got a question for you, Nikesh. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So what software can people use? I know, not everyone on here right now is an expert on video editing. So what's the easiest software, free software that people can use?
Okay, yeah. So that's a good question. First thing, if you have a Windows computer, you can use Movie Maker. It comes free on Windows. And again, if you're making a basic video, which is just, your podcast artwork with with the audio of your podcast, it will be really quick and easy to make with Windows Movie Maker. And then now if you have a Mac, you would use iMovies. And again, this is a free software, comes already pre-installed on your computer. And, it's very simple, very easy to use again. And when you're making these quick, simple videos of just your podcast artwork with your podcast audio, then, you don't have to really worry about too much editing.
Got it. Now, can you tell people a little bit about, because when they're posting a supplement video on YouTube, they should be careful with title, description, keywords, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, of course, title is going to be maybe the same title as your podcast title.
That,
So, whatever your episode title is,
or
make
what
it the same.
Or what they can do is, it's an idea. So you are a YouTube expert, but what I recommend people do is they make their title into something that, that's a very, very, important that they discussed on the episode. For example,
Exactly.
5 ways to improve your this, right? So
Yeah.
if you do that, then what's going to happen? I think Nikesh will go ahead. I'll let you talk. What's going to happen? Why people should be using YouTube, and why are we focused on title and descriptions?
Okay, so first question, why should you be using YouTube? Now, if you guys didn't know, YouTube is actually owned by Google. And now, when Satish was talking about SEO and blogging in the beginning, because YouTube is owned by Google, it ranks its video much higher. So when people search for, let's say, like he said, 5 things to get more downloads on your podcast, if you ever search that, you see that videos actually do pop up. So it'll give you that first link, and then it'll give you a bunch of links on the videos. And if you look at those video links, most of the times they're YouTube videos. And that's because, Google owns YouTube, so they really love YouTube videos. Second thing you can do is you can add these videos onto your blogs. You can add your podcast. You can also add your videos. And it just helps with your blogs and your ranking and all that SEO stuff. So that answers one of his questions. Now, when it comes back to talking about title and description and keywords, these just help people find your video even better. So if they're searching for, these specific titles, and, maybe in your description, like you did on your blog, you talk about what you exactly talked about in your podcast, you write that in your description. Now, keywords are words that were in your title, in your description, maybe even words that you used a lot in the podcast. You would just type those into keywords, and it really, really helps get your video found.
Got it. So, like Nikesh was, let me just piggyback on him. Like he said, Google owns YouTube. So, for that reason, they're going to rank those videos very, very faster. So, if you post it on your blog, it might take a while, but if you post something like this on YouTube, people are going to find it faster. Even when they Google things, if your content is, if your video on YouTube is very good, it's gonna rank very fast. Make sure to focus on title, description, keywords, and I think Nikesh was talking about caption. Like, what's the importance of that?
Caption on the video?
Yes.
Yeah. So, a lot of times what how YouTube kind of works these days is that it actually reads through your video. So, there are so many people out there that might have the same title as you, that might have the same description, or, similar things, similar topics, all that stuff. But when, you have when you have a good caption on your YouTube video, and it matches your title, your description, your keyword, everything kind of like flows together, YouTube actually searches through that. And if it is a good topic and you did talk about really good things in your podcast, then it ranks it even higher. So again, it helps you get found better.
Got it. And last but not least, guys, make sure to link back to your blog on your descriptions to encourage people to subscribe. Perfect. Thank you. Now, number 4. Now, this is a paid method, but this is, the cheapest one and the quality of the PPC ad, pay per click. Now, I know there are other options like, Google ads, Facebook ads. There's a bunch, right? So now, why did I, out of all those things, I picked this one right here? Because this one, buyselads.com, it's a marketplace to find, websites which are related to yours. For example, you might have a podcast on topic A. some other guy might have a blog or just a website on similar topic, and he might not have a podcast for his folks. So what you can do is actually pay them, and you'll pay pennies usually, sometimes like $1 or $2 usually for 1,000 views, 1,000 impressions, and you're gonna get really really quality people. Now the reason I really recommend this is because the marketplace, let me go here, the audience is very very mature and they are loyal fans, so you can pretty much on the front page shows you all the big websites, but if you go ahead and look through your topics, find your category. For example, if your podcast is about business or finance, go here and you can pretty much advertise on all these big websites. Or what I do is actually find a smaller website which is getting decent amount of traffic, and pretty much talk to them privately, directly. That's option number one. Or option number two is to just do it through here, and you pay them in a certain amount, for example $50, and you get 50,000 impressions, or depending on what they have to offer. So if you want to advertise your podcast to their audience, you can, and you'll get really really loyal fan followings for your podcast. And that's the big reason I recommend buy sell ads. Now if you want to advertise on Facebook or Google AdWords is very very expensive. Just keep that in mind. And even optimizing it, we optimize these for our clients all the time, and even when we do that, it is very very expensive. Now Facebook ads, please guys, don't waste money on that boost post. It's pretty much for people who don't know what they're doing, and Facebook is pretty much trying to rip you off. Don't use that feature, the boost feature. If you really want to pay Facebook, go through the Facebook ad manager and actually use the entire software to advertise it. Don't just click on boost and just send out those and spend money. Okay, so use buy sell ads if you have some money that you can spare to get new loyal fans. And like I said, using this, you're more likely to find loyal fans who actually like to read things. On Facebook, people might go to your blog, your podcast, and be like, oh, let me just get out of here, right? When you use this, you're going to be advertising through other people's blog or their content, their articles. So you're going to get those real good fans. Okay, so those were 4 things that you could do in order to get more downloads. Of course, you could do a lot of other things. We didn't talk about those things, but obvious things. But these 4 things are things that you can add on to whatever you're doing right now in order to get more listenership. Now, getting new downloads or listeners is great. Now, it's nothing. There's no point if you can't retain them. Okay, make sure that your churn rate is actually good, because if you cannot retain your audience, what's the point? So we're going to go ahead and talk about, I think, 5 things that you can do to retain your audience. Number 1, okay, on your podcast, on your blog, you should be giving value that they can't get anywhere else. And I'm going to invite Nicholas to expand more onto it. So you should be giving something to these people that they cannot get. It's not available everywhere. So Nicholas, do you want to expand on that a bit?
Yeah, well, the most important thing here is you have to ask yourself, why do you listen to other people's podcasts? What is it that they offer? What makes you want to tune in to them? What is their hook? So then you have to ask yourself, well, what'll be your hook? And why would people listen to you? And ask yourself, most importantly, would you listen to your own podcast? Because if you have enough value to give, then people will come. But a lot of people out there start a podcast just because they want to hear their own voice, and they actually provide no sort of value to listen to them. So you just have to, be honest with yourself. It's like, do I have something to give the marketplace? And the best way to do that is you have to study your marketplace. You have to study your niche, find out what their pain points are, just like I said earlier, and then create a solution for that. When you have a solution, people will come, because people always love a solution to their problems.
Okay, perfect. So make sure you give them something of value. Number 2, opposing views. So when I say opposing views keeps things exciting, that means that invite guests, invite people who are actually going to oppose your views, or invite 2 people they have different views. So for example, I'll give you a really good example. So let's say you have you have a podcast on let's say a topic, let's say Republican topic. Okay, so it's a politics podcast, and all you talk about is Republican things. Now, over time, people are gonna get bored. Okay, just an example. So invite an opposing views to keep things exciting. If you don't keep things exciting, just like your wife, your girlfriend, your listeners are actually going to divorce you. They're going to leave. They won't want to listen to you anymore because there's nothing new. There's no new idea. It doesn't boil their blood. So when people listen to your podcast, they should be exposed to the opposing views, if as much as possible. Okay. Now, number three, your episode length actually does play a very, very, very big role on whether your audience stay with you for a long time or they leave out. Now, from our stat at Podmia, we've seen that podcasters whose episodes are below 30 minutes, their audience seem to be with them for a longer time versus other podcasters who have a lengthy 2-hour podcast that goes on and on and on. The reason for that is, keep in mind that people listen to podcasts, on their way to work, back from work. They don't want. So, for example, let's say I'm driving to work from Frisco to Dallas. When I get to my work, I gotta give it up, right? I gotta give it up right there. I don't wanna let it go at that point. So when I get to work or before I get to work, I should be done with that episode. Okay, that's number one. Number two, people have that limited, attention span. So make sure you're using that. Okay, so make sure your episode length, is something that fits your audience. Now, again, this advice might not work with every podcaster, but a lot of majority of podcasters that we've seen on our data, if your podcast is under 30 minutes, it looks like the audience stay with you for a longer time.
And Satish, can I add one thing to that?
Go ahead.
Well, one more thing with it about the episode length is you want to make sure that you leave them thirsty for more. So, sometimes a 20 to 25 minute podcast is perfect because it'll get them to work. And then you want to kind of pitch what your next episode is going to be about so they can stay tuned for that. And, it'll keep your listenership going because they know what to expect next.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Now, number 4. Now, from the beginning, we've been telling you, capture emails, because the people whose email address you have, name and email address you have, those are your real subscribers because you have their information and you can reach out to them anytime you want. So I say email them often. So whenever you have a new episode, email them. Whenever you have a new blog post, email them just to remind them that, hey, you exist. And you should do it in a way so they anticipate your email, every Sunday, every Monday and Friday. So make sure that you're emailing your subscribers very often. Okay. Now, number 5, call to action. A lot of people are not doing it. So pretty much what call to action means is that, if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. So I'm going to have Nikesh on here to explain what a call to action is and how to use it on your podcast, on your YouTube videos, and to get more, downloads, to get people to share it. So Nikesh, what is call to action? How do they use it? Can you give us more insights?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like how you explained it. It's telling somebody what to do. And, we typically say do it at the end of your podcast, end of your YouTube video. And it's crazy how many times we listen to a bunch of these podcasts and, they're just like, oh, we'll see you on the next episode. Bye. Or something like that. And people don't really tell people to, hey, subscribe, go to my website, or something kind of like interactive saying like, let's say you discuss something that was maybe a little controversial or anything, and then just asking people to comment, on YouTube or send you an email saying, hey, we want to hear your thoughts. And this is really good because one, it tells people what to do, kind of like tells them to, hey, subscribe. And if they subscribe, they're going to get notification when your podcast comes out, right? So that helps your listenership and helps your downloads. And then the second thing is it makes you interactive. So you tell somebody what to do. They might have to, send you an email or write a comment, and then, you can discuss this in your next video or whatever it may be. But it kind of gets them to kind of interact with your podcast, which makes them want to listen and tune in on the next one just to see, hey, what is this about?
Got it. Got it. Now, so I hope you guys, learned 5 things, that you can do in order to retain your audience. Now, lastly, I was going to go ahead and have Nicholas pretty much recap things. Any final remarks he wants to give out?
Well, I mean, I have some extra points that, we could recap on. Number one, this is my personal feeling. If you're not selling, you typically shouldn't be podcasting, because podcasting is an expensive venture and you actually do need to offset the cost. You need to have a list. If you don't have a list, that's another reason you should create a list first before you get into podcasting. And not only should you have a list, the list should know you and buy from you, similar to how Satish runs his business. And, Ken McCarthy once said that a customer is somebody who makes a custom of buying from you. So Satish is actually a great example of that. He has those type of customers. He has the type of customers that all he has to do is say that, I'm thinking about launching this product, and his customers are ready to buy it before he's even had a chance to pitch it. Those are the type of customers that you want. So there are some people out there that can have a podcast without having to sell something, and those are usually people that have a name in their niche, in their market. For example, I once in a while I listen to this wrestling podcast because I'm a big wrestling fan, and this guy's been in the industry for 30-40 years. He has these stories that he's been keeping for so long that we love listening to, and he doesn't have to sell anything because his audience is so big, and he gets so many hits on iTunes and YouTube that people want to advertise. So that would be the only thing different. Number two is, you want to get a customer relationship manager type of software, because you want to know who your top tier customers are. You want to, build a relationship with them and eventually turn them into a client. So if you notice, like I'm sure Satish has customers that have bought many products. Those are the type of customers you want to reach out to them and, just drop them a line, hey, get to know them. And then, when those people realize that you actually care about them, those are the people that are going to tune into your podcast, because there's a chance that, Satish might talk about one of his customers on his podcast, and people just, they love to hear their name. Make sure your niche is also big enough to make sense of podcasting. You want something that is big, but, it has to be, it doesn't have to be massively big, but, you have to be able to have that audience. And like I would say, Satish's market is business-minded internet marketers who love software. That's one of his niches. So he knows exactly who his target audience is. He knows exactly what they like. When you get to that level where you know who your audience is and what they like, it'll really help your business. You also need to learn how to gather information from people. So like Satish was saying earlier, Quora is a great place. Facebook groups, forums, blog discussion boards. Go in there, see what people are talking about. They will just voluntarily tell you what their problems are. You find out what their problems are, create a solution. Like maybe for some people in our industry, their hangups are sales or cold calling or asking for business. They're telling you what their discomfort is. And, that's a problem that needs to be addressed. You need to find a solution, and that is your ideal audience. So you got to drill down deep and find that solution. Find their insecurities. There's a famous podcaster out there that says, find out what your market's insecurities are and rub salt in it. That's how people are going to react, is when you call out their insecurities and make them feel bad for it. I mean, not in a bad way, but it makes them take action. And not only that, when you find out what these insecurities are, they're going to be great for your email headlines, your sales page, your blog post, the names of your podcast episodes. So, the last thing I would say is, if you have a list, but you don't know what your list's problem are, send them a survey. There's a lot of survey softwares out there. If there isn't, then, that's something that maybe Satish knows something about. He can maybe create something. But, you want to send out a survey to your list, ask them some questions, but you don't want it to be, too overwhelming. Just get the basics out there. But you also have to give them something for participating. Maybe it's a free download, maybe it's a chance to win something like an iPad, or whatever you want to do, because the reality is, maybe like the CPA industry is kind of hurt surveys, because they throw you through these funnels and they don't like it. But if you have a one-page survey where you're asking specific questions to try to gather data from your audience, then just give them something for that, and people will generally do it. So those are just some extra tips I just wanted to throw in on there that could really help people out.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. And he was asking which software can you use for doing surveys. The free one and the best one that's on top of my mind is going to be Google Forms. Use it. You can use it for surveys. So use that. So I hope you guys enjoyed our first meeting for PodValley, and we have some Podmeo customers here as well. So hello to them as well. Now, so that's it for today. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys on the next webinar.